welcome to another edition of Conversations with Mrs. R. It's always a pleasure and privilege bringing the conversations to you. My name is Marian, and what would conversations be without Mrs. R? So I have Mrs. R with me. It's always a pleasure talking with you.
Thank you. Hello, Marian.
I'm doing well. You know why I like talking to Mrs. R? You don't feel like she's talking to you. You feel like she's talking with you. So it's always a pleasure.
Nice. That's nice. Thank you.
Now, the last time, Mrs. R, you had your friends around. It was an amazing time. We didn't want it to end. And then today, again, you brought your friends again. Another set of friends. And the ages are different now. And why am I smiling? The last time, everybody was Auntie Tomio, Auntie Tochi, Auntie Chichi. Everybody was Auntie. But today... auntie in the middle. It's a pleasure to have you in the house, Kemi. Welcome to the show.
Thank you so much. I'm Mrs. R. Thank you. You know, you call the
We run.
Come by airplane. Part of the conversation this time.
Thank you. It's a joy to have you.
Thank you. And then we have Auntie Tochi. So, Auntie, you know how when you have a football team, you have a returning person from the last group. Yeah, so she's returning in the squad today. So Auntie Tochi is here. Welcome, Auntie Tochi.
Thank you. Happy to be the veteran.
And then the person that meets you is senior. It's great to have you, Nika.
Thank you so much, Miriam. So good to be here. Such an honor to be here with you.
Okay, Mrs. R, it's going to be a good one today because we're going to continue in the marriage series. Now, before we go into the topic, you know, the last time we did have the marriage series, it was a lot to learn. There was so much. When we started, I didn't know it would go the way it went. So I really want to go back to the beginning. Why did you think of the marriage series? Why is it important?
Yeah. Well, apart from the fact that we sent out questionnaires to really find out what people wanted to hear, I've been quite concerned about the alarming rate of divorces because for the reason also that it's discouraging people from getting married. And then it sends a signal to the people who are married and who are trying to do their best that it's okay to just abandon ship. And more importantly is the fact that I'm concerned, and we all here, about how this would affect the next generation. Because what seems to be, it's not harmless, but what seems to be a trend now could lead to a potential increase in disaster in society, because the home is the cradle from which children grow, mature, and are nourished. So that bothers me.
Okay, I mean, I don't think it could have come at a better time, especially now where we see everything, where it's like marriage is a scam. If it's not working, step out.
Yeah.
If you're not happy, then it's not working. You know, this thing of I have to be happy 100% of the time when I'm married.
Yeah.
If I just don't feel the butterflies anymore, are they turning into moths?
Yeah.
Walk away. So I think this is the right time. Okay, so today's topic, what we're going to be talking about and focusing on is, how do I know he's the right one or she's the right one? And how do I know it's the right time? These two questions, if we can get answers. Some people's day is gone. But before I even go into that, Mrs. R, they say there's scarcity of good men. Because these days, on the internet, you hear all men are evil.
Yes.
Men are scum. There are no good men again. Is there a scarcity of good men?
I don't think so. And I premise this firstly on the fact that anything God created, He created a surplus. He created in abundance. Just look at nature, water, the ocean, look at the leaves. From creation, He said, go, multiply, increase. And I feel that sometimes we give ourselves a narrow bandwidth, thank you. And as long as God created men, two factors operate, the good and the bad. In my consciousness, good always outweighs bad. Now, it depends on what you're looking for and where you're looking.
Okay.
I've also said to a few ladies, why do you think good men are only stationed in Nigeria? Or are only Nigerians? Why don't you spread your net across Africa and across the world?
The earth is the Lord's.
The earth is the Lord. So what you're looking for, and don't say Nigeria doesn't have good men. That's not what I'm putting out there. No, we do. But the good men are across the world.
Okay.
My mother came from the West Indies, and she found a Nigerian good man in the UK. What stops a lovely Nigerian lady from finding a good, nice Christian young man from Zimbabwe or Mozambique or Trinidad or Ghana? So I've said that to ladies a couple of times. I think you're looking at just your immediate environment. And there's also some people say you'll always find a husband in your immediate environment. That immediate environment could be an aircraft.
Oh, wow.
It could be you on a cruise.
Yeah.
It could be you at a lecture in Muson and at an international lecture. But we've closed our eyes and just looked in a narrow,
small space.
that small space of where this husband could be from. So there are good men everywhere, and there's no scarcity of good men. It depends on what your term or your interpretation of a good man
is.
Yeah.
Okay, no, we'll be happy to hear that. Instagram us because and I have to chip this in here. I remember when I was young, my mom would say, "Marry everywhere in Nigeria," but like her boundary was. I mean, she tried. She said you could go to other tribes. She felt she was very modern, saying you could go to other tribes. I mean, we're in a minority. Where are you going to find a Benin man in Lagos anyway? So she had to accept that. But you see that map? She kind of drew it like, no shall pass the map of Nigeria.
The borders.
I think also parents also have that, put it in our heads that no matter where you go, at least
Bring it
say,
nearer home.
Then I hear my sister saying, we know, because all your kids are abroad now. Okay, if you cannot find Nigeria, you find Africa. But I like how you're saying now that the bandwidth we shouldn't narrow it and then stick with what we think we know.
Yeah.
All right, so the topic of the day, and I'm going to start with Kemi. How do you know he's the right one? Because this question, age-old question, how do you know he's the one? How do you know he's the right one? What are the things? How do you just know? Some people say you just feel it. You just feel it.
We should put money down for the amount of times women all across the globe have said, I want to know the right one. Who is the right one from? Yeah, we'll be very good. Because it's an age-old question, like you said. And even touching on what the question you asked, Mrs. R, let me start from there to get to what you said. There are no scarcity of men, like she said, of good men. They're not, because she was right to say, we all come with good, bad. In the eyes of God, He sees us the way He has spoken our destinies to be. So I think the question is there a scarcity of men walking in godliness? So godly men. Because that is what would establish that person in being what the world terms to be good.
Good,
What
okay.
you see as good. That considerate person, the person that is not selfish. So now I'm using style to
tell you how you know he's the right
how do you
one.
know the right one? Yes. So that person that would think of me, put the other person first. That person that want us to build together. So yes, we say, men, they are the leaders, they are the hunters and all that. But then it takes a good man, a godly man, to want to be a servant leader. So you want to serve me as your wife. Because you know the responsibility, the mantle that God has put upon you when it comes to marriage. So we all have preconceived ideas of how to know who the one is. But I feel it starts with us. So individually, where are you concerning your relationship with God. So I know some of the people we're speaking with, they may not be on course or they may not have that relationship. But I have to speak from my own experience. There was a time I was out of my relationship in Christ. I gave my life to Christ early on, when I was very young. And then I just stepped out of it because I didn't have the Holy Spirit powering me then. So it was more religion.
Go to church.
Church, go and join prayer team and all this. But I was loving God from a place of fear. I knew He loved me, but I must not do bad because God will be upset with me.
And he'll punish you.
Yes, He'll punish me. And I miss raptures, right? So it was from there. So I was afraid of, things like being sick or dying or anything like that. But then, fast forward years later, I had my broken moment, and funny enough, it was from a relationship. And when I look back now, I'm like, God damn. Because in the eyes of the world, that person was
Perfect.
had a good job, well spoken, loved me like, you know how our parents would say, the husband should love you more than you love
him.
Yeah. So he was that, but it wasn't the right. Now, when I look back, it wasn't. So for me, it wasn't. There was something not connecting, but on paper, even my mom would be like,
What do you want
"Can you
again?
please?"
Yeah.
But I thank God for taking us where we went. So it was in that broken moment, God was like, "Are you ready to get back on course so that we can do your destiny?" Because time is fast spent. And it was from then. And it wasn't in a church. I didn't go for any seminar or any conference because, a lot of our ladies we flock to many conferences. There's a time where you need to just sit and be like, God, do one for me. I'm asking you, God, what is the right one? What does he look like? And he answered me. And
gave you a nice, charming husband.
well,
A godly one.
That's on you,
Godly one. And they make such a handsome.
Yes, they do.
they
And
do,
I
they do.
love that fact that you said there's a time you just stop and ask the creator who created you, who is the one for me? Because
Yes.
there's so many 5 steps to finding the one, 10 steps to know that he's not the one, 16 red flags to run away from. It is confusing.
Yeah.
So sometimes just stop and like they always say, the person who created the thing, go to the manual and say,
knows
okay,
the use.
you know
And
me,
everything,
because
yeah.
what's good for Nike, Kemi,
Yeah.
it's not right for
For
me.
you,
You know, it's not I see my
True.
friends' husbands and I'm like, yeah, if you were my husband, Auntie Tochi will be putting us under counseling right now. But for them, it really works.
Yes.
So
Yes.
it's truly not, it's really, I love the fact that take a pause.
and can I even, just to end on this note, he wants you to ask.
Oh, they don't do that these
Jesus
days.
even said it.
Wow.
Because we've not asked. Can you ask? So if we ask God, He would be so joyous
Wow.
giving you that answer, and then the answer will follow.
Wow. Wow.
Now I'm going to use that to go to Auntie Tochi.
Wow.
Because somebody is listening and thinking, Nike probably is a pastor. She probably has checked you out and said, she's pastor.
She's speaking spirit.
But what I want to know is, this is just me, would God just listen to just me? Without the, I've not gone for all the prayer meetings, I've not.
My past.
I have baggage I'm coming with. I have a truckload of experiences I'm coming with, am I enough? Can I truly, like she said, just ask?
Ask God. I think so. We come to God in the simplicity of our hearts, the way we are. It is God that does the perfection. So we can't carry our baggages, our experiences, and think, that disqualifies me. No, you can actually ask God. And He gives without judgment and takes you. The next thing is the process of molding and perfecting you. But He doesn't say no until you're perfect. Come, no. That's not the way God operates.
I like that. I'm going to come to the one who is also asking, is it the right? How do I know it's
Yes,
the right one?
Auntie.
So let me come to you because everybody here has found the right one.
Yes,
Oh,
yes.
So I'm going to ask you, when you are thinking, because you are this conversation,
Yeah.
when you are thinking, how do I know he's the right one? What are you thinking about?
You know, it's really interesting you asked me this question because I'm just going to speak from what I'm seeing around me and then jump to your question. In the news lately, I've been seeing a lot of statistics. Husbands killing wives. There's been a lot of killings. The statistics it's exponential now, and it's very scary. Like it's heart-wrenching. So for me, you know, when I see darkness in the world when it comes to marriage, it's so comforting to know that there is light. We just need to find the light, and I'm so grateful for these conversations with Mrs. R. But one thing, like when I hear people's experiences, because people's experiences are there to actually mold us. That's what, you know, God has been saying to me, that even in this, my time of waiting, glean from people's experiences and mold yourself. Know when you need pruning. So I'm not going into the marriage perfect, but at least I have some sort of, I'm not going to make the same mistakes. So for me, when I see what's happening in the news, people killing, I'm like, is this guy kind? That's what I'm looking for. Is he kind-hearted? Is he a gentle soul? Would he harm me? Would he protect me? Because I don't want to end up, you know, with the statistics. That's just, you know, that's the truth for me. So that's one thing. And all of this stems from his relationship with God. You know, all the fruits he's bearing stems from his relationship with God. Because I know scripture says, you know, by their fruits you would know them. You cannot bring grapes from thorns. So it's what he has that is coming out. So for me, I would just say relationship with God, and what fruit is he bearing? Am I seeing kindness? Am I seeing someone that would hurt me or take care of me? So that's why I am in my space right now.
Thank you very much, Kemi. I'd like to touch on what Auntie Tochi said. And you asked the question, would God be willing, this is my paraphrase, to answer
me.
the question about, please, who's your will for my
me?
life in marriage? You know, when you're looking for a job and you want the best of jobs, you want a lovely home, you want a car, you have things that burden you and you want answers. And those things are not as important as marriage. And yet God answers those questions. He answers those needs. He gives us miracles in those areas. Now, the person you marry determines the rest of your life.
Oh, yes.
It's that important.
Yes. Oh, yeah.
So marriage touches on destiny. It is God's good pleasure to ensure, in fact, it's his responsibility to ensure that you're married and married
joyfully.
You've made the right decision and you are programmed in his will, because that means you are then better positioned to fulfill destiny. And that's important to God. So I want to assure ladies who are waiting and gentlemen that it's a prayer that God is desperate to answer. I think sometimes we don't wait to hear.
The word you use is God is desperate to give
answer.
you an answer. Like, that's amazing.
Yes.
And we should always ask.
You always ask. I mean, if he's desperate to give you an
And wait,
answer.
Sometimes we think, oh, will God be interested?
Yes, like, Okay, I like that. So now we have a good pathway
Foundation.
to know how to figure the right one. This for male or female. But how do I know it's the right time? Because even if I'm saying the right one, is it the right time? That's another question. Can the person be the right one, not the right time? Is that also possible?
I think it's possible. What I always say, when things involving humans, there are no hard and fast rules, because there are dynamics that are not static. It could be the right person, but it's not the right time. Because I always start with me before the person. I may not be fully prepped to do this. I may not be very settled in my emotions. there are heavy things I need to sort out. So I come to him as a whole person. Do you understand? Then I may have things I'm dealing with in my immediate community, like family. Because when you marry the person, you've brought another person into that family. So there are things that you may need to sort out. I may not be financially stable. I'm not marrying somebody to be a freeloader. Yes, I should. I should be able to sort out some of my bills and be able to chip into that larger plate. So a lot stuff like that. Do you understand? And there may also be some things in him I see that I'm not quite sure that is resolved. And it's better to resolve it from the outside than inside.
I like all the, she's put so much on that plate, and I'm going to try and distill them one by one. I'm going to go to Mrs. R. There's something she talked about family, you know, sorting out family. So there's a radio show I do, and some people calling for relationships. And one of the things, somebody said, oh, we want to get married. I love her, she loves me, we're very sure. But her mom, it's just giving us a hard time. But in fact, then the lady went on the call. The lady came on the call, was also crying that we've been dating. But that when they asked the mom, what's the why? And she really can't answer, but she's just thinking, no, you know, family, the right time. Because we might be ready. But family, there's just the family. How big a role does family play in the right timing?
Taking it on from where Auntie Tochi stopped, I think family is very important because when we talk about God's guidance, I like to believe that He also uses family to guide us. So when you see parents, I think there's an adage that says what you see from the treetop.
See from a treetop.
What
a parent
can see from sitting
lying
down
or sitting, a
child
child
can see from the treetop.
Can see, yes. That speaks of experience. Experience in life. Our parents would know certain things about background. They'll know certain things about family history that would be important to your well-being. It doesn't mean you shouldn't. It doesn't mean you should shut down that relationship completely, but it does mean that you need to do a reality check, and it is worth pausing, putting a pause on that relationship and going back. In the case of a Christian, you know that you have access to God. That's the time to go back to Him and say, because it's important that you hear for yourself. And I say to people, if we fast and pray for things that are material, then fast and pray. And take time to ask God to speak to you. He would. How does He speak? He could speak to you through a Bible scripture. He could speak to you through a book. He could speak to you through a message online that just lips at you. And you just know, you have a knowing that that word is for you. He could speak to you through a wise counselor. So if I were talking to a couple now intending to get married and this happens, I'll say, go back to your marriage counselors and discuss it with them. And if they still put a red flag on some of these things, then withdraw for a season and be comfortable. In that season, it's like, if I were to give you a biblical example, Abraham laid Isaac on the altar. And he was ready to kill Isaac, but God sorted it out. The same way, lay the Isaac on the altar, and if it is God, He'll come back to you as a covenant person because you took time. And then the issue of timing, you can be in the will of God, which also buttresses the points she has made, and I'm emphasizing. Moses had a call, but the timing he stepped out was wrong. So it took him another 40 years. But he causes all things to work out for good because we love Him and are called according to his purpose. So it could be, yes, but the timing could be wrong. In that case also, we need to seek wise counsel and go back to God, because he makes all things beautiful in his time. And when you're waiting for this time, that's a time when I find out, if I may digress a little, that most times when people are waiting, courting to get married, there always seems to be 80% a pause. And the people are wondering, why the pause? Something seems to go wrong in that journey. I think that allows the couples in courtship to see what their responses would be to a problem in the marriage. So how does he react? There's a pause. Is he angry, frustrated? Or is he calm, concerned, and caring? So it allows you a time to observe each other before you actually go to the altar. Is that
Yeah,
a lot
I mean,
to chew?
but it's on the path. I was going to also ask Kemi, age, especially for ladies. So sometimes we've put age as one of the reasons why it's the right time. Oh, once you've graduated, you've gotten a job, and then what are you looking for? Then okay, you're lucky, you got a car. It now becomes a prayer point of everybody around you.
That's the next milestone.
The next
marriage is the
I was
next
going to say that it's
milestone.
like you're ticking it, especially, oh, you've graduated, fantastic. Oh, she got a job, fantastic. Once you've gotten that job, the next milestone is it's a ring. And it's more like then it now becomes every prayer point in the family gathering, your name is put on it. This age thing, how do we go around it? Because it seems like it's almost like it's the right time now. You're 26, you're 27, you're 28. Age just seems to be the big billboard for when is the right time.
I could speak to me, my woman, please listen. Can you just put that portmanteau? Let me not even say the box. Portmanteau. Age down. Because the thing is, as you are rushing to marry, God forbid, if you miss it, you will rush out. And your rushing out is not just you. You will drag many people who will have
A
to
lot of things come with it.
advise with you. For the community of women, then you stop. And I say that because I look at things from God's perspective.
That's the best perspective.
His perspective. So for people that may think it's a bit spiritual, life is spiritual. So if we can just change our perspective and stop looking at the world's perspective. This age thing is the pattern of life that the world has created. In the eyes of God, for him, 1,000 years is as a day, a day is as 1,000 years. Have you fulfilled purpose? Have you done what I called you to do? Have you even, in your own personal life, there are some things I need you to give to me. You've not given me yet, but you're looking for a good man. Are you a good woman for that man? Are you ready? Touching on what she said as well, have you done your own personal
growth,
homework in self-development, emotional development, mental? It's plenty. Because aside from the man you want to marry, you're going to raise kids. How's that going to go? With your childhood traumas, with the abuse you experienced from past relationships, you're going to carry it into that marriage.
This space,
so does age matter when you
at
now
that point in time?
all those things? It does not. So I think if people, I still go back to, it begins with me as an individual. What
Your
do I need
preparedness.
to do? My relationship, God, Christ, where am I? I have so many things. I'm malicious. Guy upsets me. We are married. You should know he's not going to eat that night. Because I'm upset. And I know that would upset him for that. But he needs to come and beg me. I'm stubborn, but hey, that's just how life is. Yes, I may not be emotional, but growing up, I was told not to cry because it makes me look weak. And then there's a man there. Grew up in a loving family. He wants
with
to
women.
emote, and I don't feel safe. You're not a safe space. Then I start leaving the house. I start taking on habits. So if we can all come back, bring it back to me, I need to grow in my own personal space
Mm-hmm.
so that I am the good person for that person. And even if that person acts out or they are working through their own development, I've gone through mine or I'm going through mine. I can do it together. So I'm a better spouse. So basically, I hope I'm not confused.
No, no.
But the point is, can we
Leave it.
that worldly construct of age, and how it looks to everyone? If you're not married at 60, you're a failure. No, focus on self, and self in the eyes or in the light of what God has called you.
It's really important that you grow yourself. So your baggage, like Anstucci said, you're not carrying and bringing, and then he's bringing his own, then the whole compound is full before you know before you even enter, you know. But I'm going to ask you, Kemi, so it's great, you know, all these points are great. How do you, so if you think okay, I'm growing, it's not the right time right now, but there's so many outside forces. There's mom, there's dad, there's the fact that you've been a chief bridesmaid for 5 friends, you know. But you know you're on a personal growth. How do you deal with the loud noise? Because it's one thing to know you're on a personal growth, but I don't know you're on a personal growth. I mean, I'm just putting your name every day in the offering and praying. This is my friend, so
mommy
nice.
and daddy are tired of hearing
this personal growth, and you say, please go and grow inside the marriage. You understand? So how do you shut those voices so that you can have the time to even grow?
Honestly, sometimes it's just about having an honest conversation, which I've had to do with my parents and be like, this is where I am. And you'd be surprised that when you have that conversation, it's not as it quiets things down. Yeah. So sometimes it's just having an easy conversation with your parents, family. This is where I am. Okay, this is what I even need you to pray along with me so that I can navigate this journey. And I've had to do that. So in my own personal space, that's what I've had to do. Sometimes I've had to go off social media, Instagram, because sometimes the pressure is there should be Bella Ninja doing so well. Shout out to Bella Ninja. But sometimes it's a lot, and you need to protect yourself. You need to guard your heart, protect your space, because, like you said, age, you don't want to rush in and rush out. So just quieting the pressure. That's what I've had to do at this stage of my life. I've had to quieten anything that's giving me pressure. I just have to turn it off manually.
I like that.
Yes.
This is, I mean, because, and that was one of the reasons why it's nice to have you, because
hearing from the horse's mouth.
Because there's a lot of advice and all that, but the reality on ground is how do you handle, because you're trying to grow, be better, but everybody around you is putting so much pressure. But to quiet the voices is a good, and then to switch off sometimes. To switch off. So sometimes those videos, they'll be like, comments, God went.
That's one I saw. He said all singles must switch off their phones this weekend, because what will happen? Moses Bliss.
Oh yes.
They are like, single people, sorry for you this weekend.
Was that Valentine's weekend?
No, it was Moses Bliss.
There's a young man, I think he's married
Yes,
tomorrow.
he's a
Gospel artist.
Oh, I see.
Yeah. So it was like, you know, and it's a lot of pressure.
It is.
So I mean, we've this conversation can go on. Unfortunately, we are running out of time, but we will continue the series. But Mrs. Zara, I'm going to come back to you to kind of give us a way to put it all together. How we know he or she is the right one, and how do I know it's the right time?
Can I take the liberty of answering one of her questions? I think it was to do with preparedness. Comment on that. I also want to put a caution to the issue of preparedness. I married at 26, and for each person has to interpret what they mean by preparedness. Because once a gentleman walked up to me and said, "I'd like my wife to be like you." And I said, she can't, because
she can't
this
be,
is
because I'm me.
35 years of history.
Yes.
So it's unfair comparison.
Yeah.
So you can't be a me at your age. You're not supposed to be so easy on yourself. So when I pick up preparedness from Pastor Kemi, I figure out that what she's also saying is, maybe for lack of time, is also, if you are carrying a lot of baggage, go to a counselor and get it over and done with. That's your preparedness. My preparedness at 26, a young lady, was the preparedness of home. So home in a monogamous setting prepared me for my interpretation of what an expectation of what marriage would be like. Then what was I looking for in a husband? I was looking for a husband that would be like my father. Because I had such a very close relationship with my father that when he died, I was so disappointed. I actually thought he would defy death. You know, that crazy thing. It's not going to be possible. God will change the rules by the time it is. I mean, that's crazy. But the point I'm making is, so I was looking for a husband who would be caring, a man who would be caring, who would love me like my dad loved me and could literally, I would think, lay down his life for me. I wanted a gentleman. I wanted someone with a sense of integrity. I wanted a person of good character. I wanted, most importantly, somebody who wouldn't follow the crowd, who would be strong enough to say no, because for me, that's character. For me, that's nobility. For me, money wasn't, it wasn't, so I divided into majors and minors. So my majors were what I have listed. And a person from a family like mine who would understand the values that I grew up in. And I didn't want a poor person, but wealth was not, and actually a person who wasn't materialistic. Because I was told growing up, success in life is the ability to adapt to change. That was the definition of, so I was looking for someone who, in my mind, would be able to adapt to change, because I saw my parents weather that storm of change and still remain
intact.
And in my opinion, that was success. So what am I saying, and what are we saying collectively is, on the minors was wealth. But when you have these values in place with God,
wealth is necessary.
Is a byproduct of it. And wealth that is sustained. Yes, and not wealth that consumes.
Okay, all right. So we're definitely going to do another series on to continue this, because I think we started this marriage series some time ago. We did 2 parts because we couldn't finish. Kemi and Nike, I'm going to keep you, because I can't let you guys go. That's what you cannot even run. What you can do, you know. But
we've got so much to get to.
But it's so important, and I hope anybody listening and watching, one of the things we've been able to share here is, one, there's no one size fits all for sure, but personal growth is so important. And as much as we're looking for the right woman or man for you, you must be the right you for you first. I think it's so important, the right you for you. And then it's easier to connect to someone who shares what's important. And the right time is when there's some kind of growth. Nobody is perfect, like Sarah said. What you are going to be 30 years from now is not what you are starting here, but you are on that journey. Kemi's talked about muting the voices. If you have to go off socials for a while for your mental health, please go off.
Or refuse being a cheap bridesmaid.
I'm telling you, the next wedding, you are tired of being the one that all the aunties will say, "Hey, don't worry, God will do your own." You know that one that all the aunties will say, because it happened to me. That Mary is such a nice person. you know what I'm saying? Oh, Mary is such a nice person. God will do your own. God will. By the time you do the 5th wedding, my dear, you can say, this one, I will skip it. But it's just important that you are happy first in your own space.
You have to be a happy person.
Thank you so much, ladies. I am always awed. Thank you, Kemi. Thank you, Auntie Tochi. Thank you, Nike. Thank you so much. And Mrs. R, I can't thank you enough to share the space with you and have this conversation with you. Thank you.
Thank you.
And it's been a pleasure and privilege bringing this particular conversation with you. Remember that you can follow or subscribe to the channel so that anytime we have a new conversation, you will be in the know and not miss anything. But trust me, the second part of this will come up soon. Thank you for watching.